Thank you for watching this video. You're here with Greg Livingstone, and I'm Shane Bennett. In the previous episode, Greg shared some really fun news from his church that they've agreed if he can find a team leader and a team to go to an unengaged people group, they will foot the bill. It's super early in the process, not totally clear what shape that will take, but it's gotten me really jazzed, and I'm excited to hear that. For Greg's sake, he's worked for 5 years gaining influence in that church and trying to help them catch vision for this part of the work ahead of us. And I want to ask in my mind, the next question, Greg. You've recruited a lot of teams. I don't have any doubt that God is going to give you this team. I'm also wondering, as you think about your church, what's the possibility and how might it happen that your church could influence other churches of similar size, 3,500 people or so? How could they influence other churches to engage in a similar way that they're beginning to agree to do with you?
I've said for a long time, the kingdom of God goes forth by jealousy. If they can do it, we can do it. Broadcasting and connecting churches, say, hey, how would you like to partner with Christian Assembly in Los Angeles to send a team to Turkmenistan or whatever? People begin to say, oh, that sounds a little more possible than us doing it by ourselves. That's one advantage denominations have. They can call on all their churches to find laborers, but those who don't have that need to be connected with others who don't have enough in their own congregation, or they have some really good people, but they're so inexperienced. They need a team leader who can really nurture them towards becoming an effective team member. And that maybe means taking them out to Kuwait until they say, wow, yes, this is what I want to do. And sometimes I'll take somebody out, or used to, and said, find me a church and I'll give you $100. And of course, they're thinking church building. That worked on my own kids in a city in Morocco. They were running through the souk to find a church building and they couldn't find one. And so I said, now you know what your mom and dad are doing, why we're doing it. These people don't have a chance to find out who Jesus really is. I'm available, especially by phone, but I'm really ready to think through a pastor's issues with sending, or some possible person that wants to know how to get his church behind them, as I know you are.
Yeah, that whole idea kind of, it really turns my crank to think about the pastor, the leadership team at Christian Assembly exercising influence in their sphere of churches. The way you mentioned last episode that they've done some of that in other aspects of ministry. So to see them do it in this would be so great. So let me say this. If you think with your church, whether you're a missions pastor, you attend the church, you're the senior pastor, if you would benefit from influence from Greg's church, man, let us know and we'll see if that could be brokered somehow. I love that idea, Greg, that the kingdom of God goes forth through jealousy. Happily, I'm so blessed. That's not true in my own life, but in other people I can see. But yeah, it's true. And man, oh man, if that's what it takes to get teams on the plane and get people on the ground as ambassadors, I'm all for it.
It'd be nicer. We could change the word jealousy to inspiration, or eyes open to, wow, I didn't think that was possible, but let me look at it now and see what we might try.
If you're watching this and you would benefit from some of that influence, Greg's happy to get on the phone with you and talk about it. Who knows what could happen? My dream is that we would see 400 churches rolling across the US, different parts of the world, 400 churches that would say, yeah, we're going to do whatever it takes by God's grace for his glory to get some feet on the ground, get some people in the midst of these remaining probably 422 unengaged Muslim peoples. If you guys, once again, could be a vanguard in that regard, Greg, that'd be so fun.
And another thing is that more and more churches are doing true partnership with mission agencies, not just giving away their people, but staying in the decision-making, in the coaching, in the pastoral care of the people that go out from them, with the help of the mission society, which is closer to the action, which sees the problems sooner And that's a wonderful progress from what traditionally has happened. People need to think, how could we send out missionaries and care for them? Well, that's where the partnership with an agency comes.
Bouncing off that, Greg, you're a little biased, I would guess, toward Frontiers, having started it. But along with Frontiers, what are some agencies you see engaging in that kind of true, authentic partnership with churches these days?
A lot of them are very, very open to various relationships and arrangements. A lot of agencies are struggling to just fill the gaps of the people who've come home. They're not really ready to pioneer to new places. Often we try to get two agencies or three working on the same team. There was a team in Kuwait years ago, led by Don McCurry's son, John, that was 4 couples from 4 different agencies. And of course, 4 different churches. This is the good news these days, that there's a real desire to cooperate and not worry about sheep stealing.
Thank God for that. It hasn't always been the case that there are times when we've been way more protective. That's something to be encouraged by and thank God for. Let me kind of promo our next episode. You mentioned when we were talking recently, you were hoping for a chance to talk to the 20, 30 somethings at your church. If we could take a few minutes in our next episode, I want to hear, assuming you're going to get that opportunity. I love it that God answers your prayers a lot of the time. I'd like to hear what you want to tell them, what you're concerned about. Maybe we can kick that around for a few minutes. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do
it. Great. Well, thanks for watching this. If your church, you imagine maybe you could use some influence from Greg's church and what he's talking about, let us know. And we'll just keep asking God for engagement for all the remaining unengaged Muslim people groups and Buddhists and Hindus and others as well. Thank you, Greg.